The very first Resident Evil game ever was directed by a guy called Shinji Mikami. And Resident Evil 2 was directed by Hideki Kamiya, a guy that Shinji Mikami trusted a lot to do a good job. And he did. Resident Evil 2 was awesome. And Resident Evil 3 was directed by some guy I don't even know. He was probably the next best thing. And Resident Evil 3 was the first Resident Evil where I wasn't dying to play it immediately. Like, I eventually got it and beat it. Then Resident Evil Code Veronica came out for the Dreamcast, and not a whole lot of people owned the Dreamcast. And a lot of people weren't dying to get a Dreamcast either because PS2 was on its way. And I don't remember too many people wanting to play Code Veronica that bad. None of the Resident Evil games really sucked, but it was kind of getting evident that people are getting a little bit tired of it. Then Shinji Mikami, he became really good friends with the CEO of Nintendo. Kind of forgot his name. I should know his name, honestly. But he's the guy that created Mario and all that. Those two became really good friends, and Shinji pretty much told the Nintendo CEO that he would make a couple of really good games for the upcoming GameCube. And he did. Like, he remade the very first Resident Evil, and that was an excellent game. And although it was an excellent game, a lot of people didn't own the Dreamcast at the time because of the PS2. Once again, like, PS2 was just dominating the scene back then. There was just no contest. The remake of the first Resident Evil game was just what the series needed to... It definitely impressed me, and it got me back into the game, and I was really, really curious about the next one, you know, what they would do with the next one. And the remake of the first one proved to be very hard to, like, top. Because the very next Resident Evil game was Resident Evil 0, and that was the very first time where Resident Evil sales were just, like, really bad. A lot of people didn't like it that much. And before Resident Evil 0 even came out, Capcom was starting to slowly lose their employees for the Resident Evil project because a lot of them were getting a little sick of the project. They were getting a little tired of it. Capcom and Shinji Mikami felt like Resident Evil needed a new coat of paint. Like, they thought they needed to reboot the series in a different way. And that's why Resident Evil 4 happened. And at first, it only came out for the GameCube because of Shinji's friendship with the Nintendo CEO. And although Resident Evil 4 was very well received, like, a lot of about half the fan base, like, I was one of them. Like, a lot of people didn't really know what to think of Resident Evil 4 because it was very different, you know. And the sales figures weren't that crazy for Resident Evil 4 because it came out for GameCube. So Capcom wanted to release it for other consoles. And that's when Shinji got really upset, and he was like, you do that and I'm going to resign. Like, you do that and I'm going to quit Capcom. And the CEO went ahead and did it. The Capcom went ahead and released it for other consoles, and that's when Shinji was not working for Capcom anymore, and Capcom was just not the same for a very long time after that, especially Resident Evil. And Resident Evil did not come back to form until Resident Evil 2 Remake, if you ask me. The odds of Resident Evil returning to the fixed camera angle old school style is most likely never going to happen again. And even if it does, it wouldn't be for a very long time. Because that old school style just doesn't appeal to a lot of new age gamers. All the youngins today, they just don't get it.